February 3rd, 2026, Floyd Mayweather filed a lawsuit in California against Showtime Networks and Steven Espinoza, claiming they helped his former advisor, Al Heyman, misappropriate a huge chunk of his fight earnings to the tune of $340 million.
And he had been giving him 50,000 and 50,000 and 50,000. He had already gave Gamboa about 300,000 to jail on the side. And then we ended up, when he did go in, I ended up picking up all the fighters.
Al Heyman was so good at his job,
yes,
that he was clowning these networks. He was out negotiating the networks to the point where they were giving you an inferior product because his fighters were getting overpaid for lesser fights.
We weren't getting overpaid.
In that,
we weren't getting
I'm
overpaid.
happy for every dollar you made.
Freddie Hernandez.
Yeah, right.
This is the golden child of Al Heyman right here.
But it is admirable that Al Heyman not only did his job so well, but was helping fighters get rich while he was doing it. He created a climate where fighters started to begin to believe that they were worth more money. I don't mean to me. You're worth all the money in the world to me, the fighters. But I mean to the marketplace.
Yep. My thought is everything has a price. There is not a number that can get you back in that ring. 80 million, 100 million.
Nah, because now you selling your soul.
$100 million, you can have my soul.
That's you. Now we know your character. Sometimes, you know, you look at people and you be like, dang, man, you ain't got no dignity, you ain't got no morals. Like, come on, man. Like, what you gonna stand for if everything is about money? Like, I never was in a sport.
Crawford would stop you. That's the jab 50 Cent threw while taking aim at Floyd Mayweather. And it didn't come out of nowhere. Behind the trash talk is something much bigger, a staggering $340 million legal battle. Mayweather isn't pointing to minor bookkeeping mistakes. He's alleging something far more serious, a long-running financial scheme tied to some of the most lucrative nights in boxing history. At the center of the storm, mega events that generated historic revenue, including the blockbuster showdown with Conor McGregor that broke pay-per-view records worldwide. According to the claim, massive sums tied to those events were mishandled or withheld, and the boxing icon believes the discrepancies weren't accidental. He argues the warning signs were always there, just buried beneath the spectacle of sold-out arenas and record-breaking numbers. Now, what started as social media taunts has evolved into a headline-grabbing legal fight that could reshape how fight purses and promotional deals are scrutinized at the highest level of combat sports. The only question left: will the evidence back up the accusations, or is this just another chapter in boxing's long history of high-profile feuds?
Floyd is stepping into the courtroom to fight for money he claims that he was never paid, and he wants justice on his terms. So let's talk details. Let me tell you about the lawsuits. On February 3rd, 2026, Floyd Mayweather filed a lawsuit in California against Showtime Networks and Steven Espinoza, claiming they helped his former advisor, Al Heyman, misappropriate a huge chunk of his fight earnings to the tune of $340 million. Mayweather says the money is still missing and unaccounted for, and he's now suing Showtime and Espinoza for aiding and abetting breach of fiduciary duty, civil conspiracy to commit fraud. Ooh, that's...
At the heart of the controversy is Al Heyman, long known as one of the most influential figures behind the scenes in boxing and formerly a trusted strategist to Floyd Mayweather Jr., according to the legal claims. Their once solid partnership may have concealed serious financial disputes. The allegations suggest that significant fight earnings were handled in ways that were not fully transparent, with incomplete paperwork and financial gaps raising questions about where certain revenues ultimately went. For someone like Mayweather, a fighter celebrated not only for his dominance in the ring, but also for his business acumen, the accusations cut deeper than money. They challenged the very foundation of the empire he carefully constructed around discipline, strategy, and control. If proven true, the situation wouldn't just be a contractual disagreement. It would represent a fracture in one of boxing's most powerful alliances.
Floyd argues that during his legendary career, where he generated $1 billion in revenue plus and pay-per-view money, a significant portion of the funds that he made through those events, through his fights, didn't make it into his hands because they were funneled through accounts controlled by his then advisor, Al Heyman. Now, Mayweather says that Showtime delivered those checks and funds through systems that helped Heyman get the money instead of paying Floyd directly. The lawsuit also points to some of boxing's biggest pay-per-view fights, including fights against Manny Pacquiao and Conor McGregor, events that generated hundreds of millions in revenue. Mayweather's legal team said he generated hundreds of millions in revenue for Showtime and now wants to recover what he claims was unfairly.
Concerns reportedly intensified when Richard Schaefer and a newly assembled advisory team began reviewing the financial records. Requests for detailed accounting were allegedly met with incomplete disclosures, raising further questions about revenue distribution. Particular scrutiny surrounded two landmark events: the long-anticipated showdown between Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao, as well as the high-profile crossover bout with Conor McGregor. Both contests shattered revenue expectations and became defining moments in combat sports history. According to the legal claims, however, the financial summaries connected to those events were allegedly missing key components. The figures presented, the lawsuit contends, did not fully reconcile with the scale of the earnings generated.
Al Heyman himself, the advisor that Mayweather blames for the missing money, is not named as a defendant in the lawsuit. Instead, Mayweather's legal action targets the network and Steven Espinoza. He claims they aided and abetted these alleged financial wrongdoings. So what does this mean, and what's like a potential outcome for this case that's coming up? Well, the lawsuit could have some pretty serious implications, not only for Floyd's legacy, but also for how networks and advisors handle fighter compensations. Mayweather wants hundreds of millions back plus punitive damages, pushing this beyond a simple accounting dispute. If the court rules in his favor, it could open the door to more scrutiny of boxing's behind-the-scenes financial relations.
The lawsuit now has the potential to lift the curtain on the inner workings of boxing's most lucrative events. Reports suggest that as much as $340 million may be in question, with possible damages far exceeding that amount. Figures that could reverberate across the sport. As the allegations circulate, public commentary only intensifies the spotlight. Influential voices from outside the ring, including entertainers and commentators, have amplified the story, turning a complex financial dispute into a widely watched spectacle where reputations hang in the balance.
The boxing promotion company wants.
Yeah.
What happened with the boxing promotion company?
That really happened, Ken, because of my relationship with Floyd. You know what I mean? I didn't have interest in being a promoter like out the gate. It was just, he was doing Mayweather promotions at the time. And then he had to do 90 days. He was going to jail. And he had fighters, he had Rockers Gamboa, he had guys that was just lingering. I'm like, champ, if they're gonna go, they're gonna leave. You go to jail, they're just gonna leave. Like, and he had been giving them 50,000 and 50,000 and 50,000. He had already gave Gamboa about 300,000 to jail on the side. And then we ended up, when he did go in, I ended up picking up all the fighters. And so Rockers Gamboa, I had James Kirkland, Andre Durrell, Billy Dip, he was the IBF champion at that point, and then a few other guys, younger guys.
Never one to shy away from commentary, 50 Cent quickly turned the legal dispute into a public spectacle. With his trademark mix of humor and bluntness, he suggested a provocative, if improbable, way to recover the alleged $340 million, returning to the ring for high-profile matchups that would dominate headlines and reignite fan interest. Amid the chaos, the spotlight also falls on Al Heyman, a figure long regarded as one of the most influential forces in modern boxing. Commentators like Max Kellerman have noted that Heyman's dominance reshaped the sport behind the scenes. While fighters benefited from early payouts and financial security, marquee matchups were sometimes delayed or never realized. The business flourished, but some wonder if the competitive edge that made boxing thrilling for fans began to fade in the process.
So good at his job that he was clowning these networks. He was out negotiating the networks to the point where they were giving you an inferior product because his fighters were getting overpaid for lesser fights.
We weren't getting overpaid.
In that,
we weren't getting
I'm happy for every dollar made.
Freddie Hernandez.
Yeah, right.
This is the golden child of Al Heyman right here.
But it is admirable that Al Heyman not only did his job so well, but was helping fighters get rich while he was doing it. He created a climate where fighters started to begin to believe that they were worth more money. I don't mean to me. You're worth all the money in the world to me, the fighters. But I mean to the marketplace than they actually were. And so now it became difficult to make fights.
You really want us to change our mindset, right? The fact that we were putting our health in jeopardy every time we stepped in that ring. So we had to make sure to get every penny.
Stepping into the conversation, Andre Berto shed light on the complexities of the business side of boxing, pointing out that what looked unfair at first glance could also be seen as a protective strategy for fighters. Meanwhile, Max Kellerman acknowledged that while the system clearly benefited Al Haymon and his operations, it also created real challenges for the athletes themselves. As debate over fairness and opportunity intensified, Turki Alalshik emerged with proposals for a new framework, promising bigger platforms, more transparent pay, and fresh opportunities for fighters to showcase their talents.
Every time we stepped in there. I mean, that's the mindset that he put in our minds on a regular basis.
And good for him. But when he does his job that well, then Andre Berto doesn't have to take the best fights to make the money, and now me as the consumer doesn't get to see the best Andre Berto fights. My point is, fighters started thinking that the market was different than it really was, because Al was juicing the market. In that climate, big fights stopped getting made, because fighters are thinking, I'm making all this money for not taking a risk. You want me to fight that killer, or their managers want me to fight that killer for not much more money? Into that terrible situation for the consumer stepped Turki Al-Sheikh, who said, oh, okay, wait, what are your petty differences? It's over $1 million or $2 million? Here it is. Here's my gift to the boxing world. Everyone, take this.
The situation grows even more complex. Even with Turki's Alalshik offering fighters the financial incentives needed to stage major bouts, some of the most anticipated matchups still fail to materialize. Commentators like Max Kellerman highlight examples, such as the long-awaited clash between Virgil Ortiz and Boots, a showdown fans have clamored for but continue to wait on. Meanwhile, attention is shifting to Zuffa boxing, a new approach that could radically reshape the business of boxing, potentially changing how fights are organized, promoted, and delivered to audiences.
Now the problem is...
He's overpaying. Like I said, I'm not mad at that. If you're going to give me the money, we're going to fight whoever you want me to fight.
But Trey, now the problem is... Boots and Virgil can't get made for $6 million plus for the fighters? You think the average person on the street in this country knows who Boots and Virgil?
At the same time, 50 Cent's recent comments have fueled speculation about a potential showdown between Terrence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather Jr. Observers suggest that, behind the humor and public jabs, there could already be strategic moves underway, hinting at a future matchup that fans have long imagined. Beneath the social media banter, a deeper conversation is taking shape. How the trajectories of Crawford and Mayweather might intersect, and whether 50 Cent's commentary is more than entertainment, possibly signaling that plans are quietly being set in motion behind the scenes.
We have a lot of comparisons between Terrence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather. We've even had the conversation to go as far as who would win in a fight between Terrence and Floyd. And I truly don't know the answer to that question.
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah. Who will win that fight?
Floyd.
Floyd will win that fight.
Yes, sir. I
Floyd
love you, Terrence.
always figures it out.
Yeah,
he's a chess master.
Yeah, his IQ and
But
that
the
shit
funny
is
thing
crazy.
about it is Terrence has been the only other guy that people can say he always figures it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
But you gotta have an OG somewhere.
Anybody else? Yeah.
There's an OG
Somebody
somewhere.
got to pioneer it, right? Yeah, you got to.
There's an OG you can't out-figure out somewhere. And I just believe Floyd is that OG you can't out.
In contrast, Terrence Crawford has shown little interest in chasing high-profile comeback fights for massive paydays. Unlike Floyd Mayweather Jr., Crawford has been clear. No matter whether the offer reaches $80 million or $100 million, he has no intention of returning to the ring. For Crawford, pursuing money above all else would feel like compromising his principles. He competes to pursue excellence and personal achievement in the sport, and in his eyes, he has already reached that pinnacle. Meanwhile, Mayweather's repeated comebacks have solidified his reputation not just as a champion in the ring, but as one of boxing's most financially successful fighters.
My thought is everything has a price. There is not a number that can get you back in that ring. 80 million, 100 million.
Nah, because now you selling your soul.
$100 million, you can have my soul.
That's you. Now we know your character. Sometimes, you know, you look at people and you be like, dang, man, you ain't got no dignity. You ain't got no morals. Like, come on, man. Like, what you gonna stand for if everything is about money? Like, I never was in a sport because of money, you know? Of course, I was in the sport to make money, but I wanted to be a world champion. You know, I wanted to do something that I set my sights out to do as a little boy. Money wasn't the motivation. Me being a world champion was the motivation.
Crawford has been upfront about his motivations. He's already achieved the dream that drove him as a child to become a world champion. Beyond that, nothing else holds real value for him. In his perspective, chasing enormous paydays now would come at the cost of his integrity and personal pride. By staying true to his principles, Crawford protects the legacy he has painstakingly built, one defined by dedication, hard work, and genuine accomplishment in the sport.
Me accomplishing all the things that I've accomplished along the way on my journey, you know, it was extra credit. It was extra credit because it's coming from the hood. It was like, man, I just want to be a world champion because that's just my dream. So when I became a world champion, it was just like, man, all this other stuff is like a cherry on the top. Like, you know what I mean? I did what I set my sights out to do. It was evident that I wasn't gonna let nothing stand in the way of me accomplishing that goal in my life. My mom telling me all the time, you need to get a plan B. You need to go to school. Man, you know me in school don't rock. That's what I'm going to school for.
Y'all lay tight.
I'm gonna go to school and I'm gonna get in the fight and I'm gonna get kicked out of college.
Meanwhile, Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s latest lawsuit is shining a harsh light on what many see as systemic issues in professional boxing. He alleges that revenues from some of his most lucrative fights, including the mega bouts against Manny Pacquiao and Conor McGregor, were diverted into accounts controlled by Al Haymon. Years later, when Mayweather's new team requested the financial records from Showtime, they were reportedly told that key documents had been lost in a flood. Now he is suing Showtime and Steven Espinoza for fraud, civil conspiracy, and unjust enrichment, while also seeking punitive damages. According to his attorney Bobby Samini, Floyd is one of boxing's biggest pay-per-view draws. He generated hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for Showtime. Retiring undefeated at 50, Mayweather now aims to go the distance in court just as he did in the ring, determined, precise, and relentless. While Showtime has long been a dominant platform for fighters worldwide, this lawsuit casts a glaring spotlight on the financial machinery operating behind the scenes. If Terrence Crawford or others weigh in, it could spark even more scrutiny over how fights are organized, how managers operate, and how fighters are compensated. Mayweather's legacy, already complex, now faces divided opinion. Many, including fighters like Keith Thurman, see him as a masterful businessman first, someone who navigates the sport strategically to maximize earnings rather than focusing solely on competition.
Some of the best fights happen under the Showtime platform. Can you share a little bit of your take on what's going on with Mayweather? He's suing Showtime for $340 million.
Nah, we don't care. Money man trying to get more money and had a lot of money and did dumb things with money, and you know, it is what it is, man. Rich people got rich people problems. I ain't.
Skepticism around Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s claims continues to grow. Observers are questioning whether this lawsuit is simply another chapter in a long-running personal drama. The situation becomes more complex considering that Mayweather is not suing Al Haymon directly, but rather Showtime, the platform through which funds were allegedly funneled. Fans and analysts alike are asking, how could a fighter of Mayweather's experience not notice discrepancies over such a long career? And if the money did reach him, where did it actually go? Questions about timing, awareness, and intent now loom large over the lawsuit, adding another layer of uncertainty to an already high-profile case.
I don't know whether or not Al Haymon did any of this or not. This is an accusation made in a civil court by Floyd Mayweather Jr., not even against Al Haymon. We'll see where exactly and why, I don't know, he wouldn't sue Al Haymon. He's suing the people that paid Al Haymon the money and appropriated it to Al Haymon instead of to Floyd Mayweather Jr. directly. We would have to understand the contractual relationships between those parties to see whether or not this is something that Floyd should have known about or did know about or maybe did not understand. Because it seems very, very funny that Floyd would not know that the money was getting paid to Al Haymon and not directly to him.
From 50 Cent's provocative comments to the ongoing drama surrounding Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s $340 million lawsuit, the boxing world is buzzing with speculation. Terrence Crawford continues to follow his own path, turning down comeback fights for big paydays, while Mayweather keeps headlines sizzling with controversy. Could 50 Cent's remarks be hinting at a quiet Crawford versus Mayweather showdown in works? Or is it just hype stirring the conversation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button, share with fellow fight fans, and subscribe to stay on top of all the latest boxing drama.